let's get some light going up in this place. I can do this. This is a hard one, man. Broken promises, strife without your cause could be so different. You see, with a swipe on the screen, we tune in when they shoot. No place. Why did we ever let you in? Veiled upon all sides, you gave us nothing in return. It's always so simple, never to question why they shoot. When they shoot, when they shoot, when they shoot, when they so rare, we forsake for someone's wars. All that we lose just for a rating when they shoot. When they shoot. When they shoot. was a take. Let's keep it. I can't see your chats. They would make me too nervous. Next one. No. Let's make sure it's all here. I hope it's all good. Computer vibes are weird tonight. Okay. Let's try this one. This is hard too. One take, one song. Into myself and I see the ravaged soul that I've become. The burning inside will tear me apart. Is it all because of you? And do you try when all these things come into light? Do you feel responsible? The illness that I carry, I can't explain away with ethereal words. The movements in my heart, fluctuations in my mind, that is all I know. And when I hear you crying in the darkest hours, do you feel responsible for me? Yes, it's true. The pain that I've inherited from you. Yes, it's Let me get things situated. Let me play something. Oh, I have to save. This is all live. Sorry. Saved. Relax while I set up. Hi everyone, welcome. Uh-oh, what the heck is going on here? Stop. Where did that even come from? I don't even see that on the playlist. Oh boy. It's gonna be a weird evening. I can tell it's gonna be a weird evening. One moment, please. Let it play, you say. Whoa, what kind of camera angle is that? I don't even know what camera angle that is. We'll let it go. I'm in yet another corner of the universe. So I left the lights on because, quite frankly, my everything's messing up in this room. What a week. What a week, man. What a week. But let me say hi to all of you real quick, because that is a nice thing to do, and I love doing it, which is, more important. But this will be funny because I get to see all the comments I didn't see before. But let's see. Welcome, Scott, Mai, Claudio, Brian, Rita, Felipe Garcia. Wait, why is that there? Wendy, Audio Lego on YouTube, man, I can't even read. Konstantinos, Joseph, Ruben Smith, Sue Vargas,
And Arturio. I see some people on Twitch. That's nice. Emilio, thank you. Mark, thank you. Mean Gene, nice to see you again. DJ Tony G, and Frankie. That's what I see. I might have gone too fast. Sorry. But thank you. Thank you for joining me. So it's been an incredibly emotional, awful, god awful week. Most of the news I don't even have to relate because you know it. And so it was a difficult one to approach because on one hand, it could be argued that you know, mourning the loss of actors and celebrities is nothing compared to the mourning or loss of children lost in senseless shootings. And there's no way to balance the way that you feel about these things because they're all in their different separate little universes, right? And they still effing hurt. All of it hurts. So, as you know, I'm going to be touring in Texas in July. And so Texas holds a special place in my heart. So obviously, whenever I hear any bad news coming out of Texas, it affects me directly. It's a place where I have a strong connection to the people there. And so for me, that's a terrible tragedy and a senseless one at that. So I mean, I don't know. It's not like I want to spend the entire evening talking only about those horrible things because obviously that's not the point. I know you don't come here to just get more bad news from people. So I'm thinking of it as a way of getting through it. So even my choices when I started the thing today, they weren't exactly the things I was planning on doing. So I kind of navigate things emotionally, and in fact, let me be clear here. I almost didn't want to stream tonight because I kept thinking that messed up things could come out of my mouth because of my emotional state. So if it does, chalk it up to my ultra sensitivity to things that are happening around me because it is quite a bit. But I've got some other topics, of course, that we're going to talk about. So we'll get into all that, and we'll try to handle them with as much poise and grace as we can. But so, I mean, I think that particular topic or that particular news story, is taking the world by storm. And obviously, this happens a bit too much. And I can't say that there's a right answer because I don't really think there is a right answer. I think it's a very nuanced conversation, and it's a bunch of different conversations that we're not having. But let me play a song. So, in other news, sorry, before I get into that stuff. Thank you, Constantinos. We can talk about the news of stolen NFTs. Nah, old news. And that's such a first world problem for me that it's not even worth talking about. That's how much I don't think about that stuff anymore when it comes to this sort of thing. But also in the news, the synthpop world, we lost Andrew Fletcher from Depeche Mode. Obviously, that happened this week, and that was pretty terrible. We lost Ray Liotta, the actor, which is another horrible thing that happened this week. And I don't know if you guys are into Yes, but the Yes drummer also passed away this week. Um, so it's one of those weeks where age comes into question, and I think it's I don't know. I don't know that anything can make sense. But oh, Seth Green's NFTs, I don't care about his NFTs either. Although there is an interesting story there. We'll talk about it. We'll try to bridge the pain points and work our way back up through dialogue and music, and but anyway, so in a little bit of honor that I can honor such things, I decided that I wasn't going to play most of the happier things tonight. In fact, well, there's one or two things maybe, but I'm going to play things that relate more. Oh, sorry, my microphone. I'm going to play things that relate more broadly to the events in question. Because obviously I've been affected by not just death in family or death of loved ones, but I've been affected by news articles and things of that nature throughout my entire life. And if you know anything about me creatively, you know that the biggest hit that Anything Box ever had was about living in oblivion, which is, of course, the nothingness of it all. So it definitely has a relationship to death. So I thought that I would stick to those. And the other thing that I was going to do is pinpoint where some of the influences of Depeche Mode kind of popped in. So one of the reasons that I did the first song was obvious in the lyrics, but if not, you can go back and listen again. But in the breakdown, there was a very specific instrument that I wanted to evoke a 1981 Depeche Mode sound. So obviously the influence of the group still comes in. So that's one thing. But anyway, let me play a song so I can make us even more depressed. No, I'm kidding. I'm not trying to make you depressed, obviously, but we can't ignore things that happen in the world. Well, the only thing we can do is help each other process them. So the way that I can do it, or the way that I feel that I can do it, is that we talk about them. We express our feelings about these subjects, despite the differences we may have of the opinions. And of course, we can always just let the music do the talking, right? So anyway, so this is a song. I'm going to play a song from, I never remember the dates exactly. I'm starting to feel that the dates are starting to all blur as I get older. But this song is called On This Night, and it's one of the darker sides of Abox. This is from 86, 87. And this is a very Depeche Mode-y tinged track. And this is, of course, an admission, because I have never admitted most of my main influences. And that's because any synth group that says they're influenced by Depeche Mode, they're immediately like, labeled as an imitator. And I never wanted to fall into that trap. So I'm very cautious as to where or how much I let in of certain influences. But in this track, it's fairly obvious that Depeche Mode was having an effect on me. And of course, I was very young, and it was 1986. So see if you can spot the little tidbits here. And I'll play this one for all of you who are going to miss Andrew because he was a cool guy, man. He was a very cool guy. Makes me wish I'd talked to him for just 10 seconds longer that one time. But here we go. And I'll turn on the overhead and you can have, I don't know. We'll do the UFO cam. Hazy as it were. on this night. So breaking it apart sounds funny now, but yeah, the piano thing and some of the little sounds, all that stuff was like very influenced by this almost churning, as I called it back then, like a churning sound that permeated some of the Black Celebration stuff, which is what I was listening to at the time. This like so whatever that was, I wanted to try a song that had that element in it, and I liked how they used the piano in a weird way that wasn't like a piano. So I wanted to make the piano be something more percussive rather than just be a piano. So it was all single sounds and like, using it as a synthetic instrument. So yeah, so as Robert Walker said on the chat, and let's see, can I pull it up before the interwebs take it away? While Kraftwerk is the original, Depeche Mode is clearly the greatest synth pop group of all time. Clearly. Inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, all synth bands must pay tribute at some point. Well, I think we can debate who's the greatest, but that's going to be like the Kraftwerk versus Depeche Mode thing. I can see it now, but no, it's obvious that there were these two amazing groups that coalesced all the electronic sounds that, I mean, there's definitely others. I can name so many different bands. However, it can be said that those two, Kraftwerk and Depeche Mode, are formative because whether you go into the area of more IDM-ish kind of stuff, you're definitely treading on Kraftwerk territory. And if you go more towards the pop end of the spectrum, you're definitely gearing towards, Depeche Mode territory. And thank you, Konstantinos. Yes, OMD is a huge influence, and I think they are also one of the greatest synth pop bands of all time. So, again, it's not about the bragging rights. But I did get to meet him. I got to meet Andrew Fletcher. I want to say it was 1991. Piece had just come out. We had been invited to go. We got free tickets. That was the kind of cool thing about being signed at the time. And we got to meet the whole band. And I got to talk to Martin the most. But it wasn't the same as talking to Fletch. Fletch was very, as I remember him, very shy. And it was like, I'm supposed to be here, but I don't want to be here. I want to cut out as soon as humanly possible. That's the gist I got from him. And not because he didn't want to be around fans. It was more like I could see the discomfort of it. And based on some of the behaviors I saw from the others, maybe that was the reason. It's said, though, that he was the unifying force. He was the thing that kept everybody sane. And I can see that. I can definitely see that. So, honestly, he'll be missed. So, the other thing that struck me about his passing is obviously his age. And it threw a bit of a, I don't know, I could say it threw a bit of a wrench in some of the things I was going to talk about because, well, I'll just pull it up. Hold on, let me just find it. See, this was one of the topics at hand. So on Twitter, I had seen this thread, which basically said, do you think you can get too old to pursue a music career, and I found that the answers were fascinating. You can find the thread on my Twitter, so I don't need to like take you through all the comments, but the gist of it was that most people, and I say most, thought that it's never too late to begin. So ageism, when it comes to, and my reply was funny, as you know, as usual, I have a smart mouth, so I'll come in and say something snarky. But in a few short years, I too will hit that mark. And to find out that someone in a group that you admire passed at such a young age, well, to be honest, it just brought back all the weird angsty feelings I had of the last few weeks. You know, Fega passing, he was very young. Brooks passing, he was very young. You know, it's just like, it's like that weird bit of fear that you get, like, man, is it that close to me? Like, is it that much on my heels? You know, and it makes me wonder, you know, like, what the heck are we doing that, you know, people are dying so young? Like even Ray Liotta died at 67. 67 years old. Brilliant actor, by the way. And then, again, you have Andrew Fletcher passing at 60. I don't even know what the cause of death is. I don't know if you guys know. I have no idea. Oops, sorry. Meant to do something else. There we go. I meant to turn on the close-up cam. Sorry about that. But, so, you know, there, you know, Mai says, I had an interesting conversation in an interview with a couple of musicians about getting started at a certain age. Well, fill us in. Fill us in, Mai. Tell us what you gleaned from that conversation. I'm going to give you my 2 cents in the deal. When I was a lot younger, my plans were that I would stop jumping around and doing stuff at 60. That was my goal when I was like in my 20s. I thought by then I don't want to turn into a Mick Jagger. I'm not going to be doing that kind of stuff. Although I've got nothing against it, to be honest. But it was just that funny, you know, rebellious 20-year-old version of myself saying I'm not going to be jumping around much when I'm 60 years old, and I'm going to focus more on writing books and art. And I am lucky enough that I know that I can sort of piggyback on other things in that realm. I know I can. I'm not saying I'm good. I'm just saying that I'm very effective at taking action, or at least I'd like to think so. So moving into other areas is something that I'm always thinking about, you know, not because I think I'll ever stop making music, but let's be honest, performing is a very physically intensive thing. So can it be done at 60? I won't know until I'm there. Right now, no problems. I'm not having any problem doing it. I would say that, whoa, what a long comment there. Thank you, John. I'm going to read it I'm going to read that comment if you don't mind, but I'm going to read it privately while I play music. But I'll come back to that one. Thank you. But I just want to say that ageism, if it enters your mind, you need to grapple with it. And, you know, I always bring up this subject of resistance. And the reason I bring it up is because I know it affects me. And it affects me as a professional. So I cannot imagine how much further it affects you when you're trying to start. Because when you're trying to start, I'm going to be honest with you, in the very beginning, you have no fans, you have no true plan. You don't know where you're going. Things are being done on the fly, and I get that. So it could be very difficult to figure all that out, and then someone say to you, you know, hey, you're pushing 30, you're pushing 40, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. And that is a perfect spot for a resistance to just step in and go, let's not record today. Let's not write today. Let's not do this today. Let's not paint. Let's not do whatever, because I'm getting too old for this crap. And maybe I should just stick to the day job and stick to this, and this is my life and I got to accept it. And, you know, no, that doesn't mean that that's what has to happen. That decision, to me, that decision has to be made when you've done everything. And even then, I'm going to say that I could be completely wrong about this. But let's say that you release music, it resonates with no one. You try to do the art career thing, it resonates with no one. Nothing seems to be selling. Nothing seems to be working, and you're getting older. So you just give up and you take a normal job or whatever it is, whatever thing it is that you give up. Well, there's two things I have to say about that. Number one is you never had to give it up in the first place. You could still do it part-time. And if part-time doesn't yield anything other than your own enjoyment and pleasure, then I would say then you could honestly give it up, because then it doesn't matter. If it doesn't really add to your life, then obviously that's a reason. But if it's adding to your life, who cares if you still have a job and you have to work? Who cares if you can't afford the best synths in the world this year? Who cares? Who cares if the stuff you're into is out of style? Who cares if it's not in style because it doesn't even exist in a style? Who the hell cares? The whole idea is to continue, to keep it going. Because if you really love what you're doing, there's no reason why you should stop. Now, all that said, making a career of it is a choice that you need to be very diligent. Sorry, wrong word. You need to be very diligent in your approach, knowing that there is going to be some sort of resistance from the outside world. No one's going to take it lightly that this is what you want to do. But to be honest, when I was 17, my parents weren't crazy about me getting into music and art in the first place. They saw that as the death knell. They thought I was going to be some transient living in the street because I wanted to be a painter. So the reality of it is, even when I was young, people were telling me not to do it. So the reality of it is ageism doesn't exist. Now, you also, point number 2, have to be realistic about what your approach is. If you're looking at someone, let's just say, if you're looking at someone that's in the pop mainstream right now, top 40, and you're thinking, I want to compete with that dude who's 20, looks like a model, and I'm going to be a heartthrob, and you're pushing 50, I would question that motive before the career motive. Why are you feeling this in the first place? There must be something else going on with you that makes you think that this is it. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, if you think you have it and you still have it, that's fine. That's okay. I'm not going to tell you not to. I'm just saying you have to look at the different sides of the equation. And yes, as Emilio says in the chat, the internet suspended old model rules. And this is true. When it comes to the subject of ageism, most of the rules have been thrown out the window. Now, obviously, with art, it's easier, right? If you're into art, you can literally start an art career almost at any age, because it's not as dependent on the visual side of things where it comes to the artists themselves. which is a good thing. So, I don't know. So anyway, but the reason why all this crap affected me is that here I am thinking about ageism and how the rules don't apply and all this stuff. And then one of my favorite synth dudes dies at 60. And that just, man, that literally did throw a wrench into my thinking. So I can imagine that, you know, you have trepidation to start, but you got to start sometime. Anyway, let's play a song so that we can think about other things. Is it me or is the stream better tonight? Is it like rolling along nicely? I had to make a few changes to the system, and I'm not quite sure if it's all working just yet, so I hope so. But yeah, Emilio, I agree with you, man. We are all in a very vulnerable spirit at this time, which I would say is a good time to reconnect to your inner spirit. I think that these times are the best time to connect to that. So let's play a song. So this one is a short song. This one is from Electronica, and this was definitely another take on a Depeche theme. I think this is like my little ode to music for the masses, and it found its way into Electronica, or at least I think so. But you can see that there's a definite. I'll tell you what the two influences on this particular song are. Depeche Mode, Joy Division. So this is one of those things where I wanted to put both of them together to get an emotional state going. So anyway, that's my explanation. But UFO Cam, I'll read your comments while we listen.
Have awakened once again. Collectively they seek out to defend all the things that I have been before. Filter all the past wounds through my door. What can I do? What can I say? Perhaps you think I've gone and lost my way. I used to think long ago. Then how could I be so wrong? I was draped in closure. You gave me a whisper, took me in from shadows to absorb the tragic. I was out of focus. You have opened my eyes.
Oh, hey, 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 hey! What the heck? It keeps doing this thing where... Okay. Do I have to keep telling you? Cut it out. You guys are having an entire conversation about synth pop bands. Oh boy. Well, here's what I think about that. Even though I haven't read all of it. I just read a little bit, and we can all debate this on the video when it gets put on on the stream. Sorry, on the web tomorrow. But it doesn't matter if you had influences of a certain group and you assimilate it into your own. I mean, just speaking for myself, because I've been asked this question on interviews, so it's already like. So I'll tell you the rudest question that was ever asked of me in an interview, and I wish I could find it, but I don't have it. But it was a question that was asked at OMD. So first off, I'm going to tell you about the OMD one. If you search around YouTube, you're going to find an old documentary on OMD. I'm not talking about the more recent documentaries. You're going to find some it's an older one, a lot older, where you literally see them being asked on a Spanish TV channel, and this is like an interview from, I want to say, 1982. So they're on TV in 1982. Poor OMD. And the interviewer asks them, so why do you make such old-fashioned music? I mean, like, this is old. By 1982, a lot of electronic music in parts of Europe was already old. And they were asked why they were making music that was so old and so derivative of everything that had come before. And they were referencing things like Vangelis, all the French new wave stuff, as if OMD was late to the party. And I think that's really funny, because I was asked a very similar question. Goes back to ageism, right? Where someone literally said, why do you need to exist? Like, why does Abox even have to exist? Since we already have Depeche Mode and OMD. Like, that was literally what they said. And I remember just thinking, like, wow, that's such a profound and yet utterly rude question. Why does it have to exist? Why do we need more abstract art? Why do we need another rap artist? Why do we need another country music artist? Why do we need another synthesizer? Why do we need another drum machine? Why do we need a different car manufacturer? Variety is the spice of life. If anything, it's that when you're inspired to make music, it always comes from outside influences. So in my own case, I mean, the only thing I can say about this is that, and I'm going to be honest, because like I said, I was going to be brutally honest, Depeche Mode were about that much of an influence on me. It's enough. This much is enough that it involves our entire history, but it's only this much. The biggest musical influences in my entire life, like the real stuff that was like life-changing, if you want to know the truth, was the Beatles. And my first experience with death, and it has to be told, my very first experience with death, where it hit at my door, was the day that John Lennon was shot, which I will never forget as long as I live. I was 14 years old. I cried on the doorstep of my house for like 2 hours because the way I thought about it was I was going to get to meet him one day and let him know that I was writing music and wanting to sing. So for me, that was the most profound loss that I could ever imagine when it comes to artists. And so it was terrible, but I only bring it up because I don't want, well, first of all, it's because it's being brought up on the chat. I would say that they were decisively influential to many, many bands. And I would never take that away from them. But to say that all electronic bands come from that source, I would say is patently false. There are bands that I've known that were not influenced by them at all, that are in their own rights. Like I said, I will gladly admit that there was an influence. OMD had an influence. Kraftwerk had an influence. Beatles had an influence. Pink Floyd had an influence, yes, believe it or not. Led Zeppelin had an influence, yes, believe it or not. The Who had an influence, yes, believe it or not. The Kinks had an influence, yes, believe it or not. And so, and Joy Division had an influence, believe it or not. It's what you do with those things, right? So if all you do, and look, I'm just being a dick here. I know this is a dick move. I'm sorry. But if all you do is you say, I want to be exactly like this band, well, I think that's when you shoot yourself in the foot because you're not letting your own voice come out. What happens, or what I think is the best thing that can happen to you, and I don't mean this is just, this is art in general. It doesn't have to be music, is when you take from all those things and you add them to this little bag of tricks that you have in your book, and it eventually finds your own sound. You eventually find your own voice. So I'm pretty happy in my or very comfortable in my shoes, meaning that I'm not that worried about that question as much anymore, and I don't care. I know who Abox is, and I don't have to defend it, so I won't. But I think that it's funny though when we get into these debates of like, who is the definitive? I think, look, man, I'll be honest with you. Some days Depeche Mode is the greatest band on earth in my book. And on other days, I am in no mood at all. And it's actually Joy Division that's the best band on earth. 3 or 4 weeks ago, for God's sakes, my girlfriend was playing a lot of Fleetwood Mac, and I think 2 songs came on that I remembered, and I was like, damn it if they're not the greatest band in the world. So I think it has to do with moods. John Fox, homie. That's right. Oh my God, that's so funny. But anyway, but the reality of it is that you will find your own voice, and that's the voice you have to celebrate. So I kind of take that approach now that if someone were to ask me, like, who are your biggest influences now? I've been doing it long enough that I can say me, myself. Sorry. I know that sounds horrible to say, but I could say it now. It's me, because I'm now me. I now know how to grab things for myself. Like, it's very different now than it was like when I was 20. When I was 20, I was still very impressionable. So I'm not saying that I'm not impressionable now. It's just I'm a little bit more honed in and focused, which kind of brings that ageism thing back to its roots, right? I am more ready now than I was then. I have superpowers now that I didn't have then. So if anything, ageism has taught me, well, one thing that I'm not doing really good at, but I have to get better at it, is protecting this, meaning that I have to be better about health, be better about the way that I treat my voice, the get better sleep. These things are more important as you get older, because the only thing I have is this. And if I lose it, well, then the whole thing's bust, isn't it? The whole thing's a bust. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, so I have a secret fetish for Fleetwood Mac at times. Although I'm not a fan of What's Your Face by herself. Just saying, I'm not. But I do love Fleetwood Mac. Anyway, let's play a song before I get into more trouble. So this song that I'm gonna play is from Worth. What's her face? I'm joking. I was joking. Stevie Nicks is all right. She's all right. I knew all the women would get mad. I said, what's her face? It's hilarious. But see, this is what makes me smile. Like, these snarky things that I might say that come out might get us out of the doldrums and the whatevers. But anyway. So ageism. You're never too old. That's all I'm trying to say. And then, hey. She's a good example, by the way, because think about Fleetwood Mac. They went through all the entire 70s into the very, very early 80s. Then they did all those reunion concerts. And then Stevie Nicks had her own career. It took time. So I think if you start young and you maintain it for a long period of time, obviously that's really cool, because you're growing as an artist through the entire period. So there's nothing wrong with that. And so, of course, I'm going to say, what, you're 20 and you're thinking about starting? Go. Absolutely do it. But I'm also saying that if you're 35, 40, 50, 60, I don't care what flippin' age you are, if you decide that now is the time to sit down and write songs, I would do it. There's an interesting story about resistance that I'm going to tell you that relates to ageism when we come back. But I'm going to play a song. This is from the Worth album. And this one gets its day because I think it was also, it has an ode. See, like I do it with odes. It's not influence. I'll sometimes write a part and I'll think, I'm going to do this because it reminds me of a certain ending of a song, or it reminds me of a certain thing of a song. And I'm naive enough to think that no one's going to get it, that it's going to be my own inside joke. But obviously it comes out. It comes out in the wash, right? So imagine having worked on this song and then realizing I was going to work with Gareth Jones, who worked with Depeche Mode and with people who had done stuff with them, and then having to present this song and say, yeah, I know the ending a little bit. I know, it's just, it's an influence. So you guys are so funny. What? I don't know what you guys are talking about, but it's funny. The chat never lets me down. Never lets me down. Again.
In the overcoat speaks. Someone speaks. Someone speaks. You will listen. Someone weeps. Someone speaks. Someone speaks.
So now is a good time to subscribe and hit that bell, because after what I say, I know about 5 or 10 people, maybe 1,000 are going to unsubscribe. So I might as well tell you to do that now. My favorite synth pop band of all time, must I say it, is New Order. I think they were the most influential. And I'm going to tell you why I think that. And all the bands that you guys were citing that were non synth pop bands, like Smashing Pumpkins and all that stuff, and even Radiohead, all those people, man, New Order comes up all the time. And I'm gonna tell you why I think that. And there's a really, really interesting reason why I believe that. And I'm not taking anything away from Depeche Mode. Again, I love Depeche Mode. And obviously, I'm playing the more Depeche-y things. But when New Order's first album came out, when they were no longer Joy Division, that album to me almost classifies as IDM. It's very experimental. It's off kilter. The instrumentation is very, very dense. But at the same time, and this is going to sound like I'm slagging on them, but I'm not. What I liked about them was that they were sloppy. And what I mean by that is that I thought of them as like working class. They had to I know Barney had to make his own synth because he couldn't afford it, so he made one out of a kit. So there was something that was really organic and very loose about New Order, which is why a lot of people don't even like to classify them as a synth band. But if you listen to that first album, it is very much one of the coolest records ever made, and it still, warms my heart to this day to put that on. It plays with my emotions. So I consider them to be one of the